Okay, so I think this is one of our first workshops by popular request. So in other words, on I think yesterday, a lot of people have, well, and before that, a lot of people were having a lot of GitHub issues or Git and GitHub issues. So just thought it'd be useful to run through the basic commands again and a few common scenarios. So the two common scenarios I wanted to look at were essentially working with your own code. So whether it's a completely new project or an existing project, how do we create that on GitHub? How do we set the remotes? How do we initialize a Git repository? All stuff like that. And then the second scenario, which is what will be useful next week, is if we're collaborating on a shared repository, such as when you get into businesses, you'll be working on the company code base. It won't just be you working on that repository, there'll be many people. Or obviously you're going to do your team apps next week to help simulate this, and there'll be 5 or 6 of you working on a shared repository. And we want to try and alleviate some of the headaches that often come with that if we're not clear what we're doing. We will probably go over it again next week, but at least we'll have a little intro today as well. Cool. So to that end, first I'm going to just look at our own project, because I think that's the easiest one to consider first, and a lot of the commands we revise in that will be useful for when we do the team collaboration as well. So, for example, we're going to start sharing some resource links as a team. So, I am just going to navigate to a folder on my computer, and I want to initialize this as a Git repository. So, in other words, I want to have a .git folder. So, this is a hidden folder which gets installed when we initialize a folder as a Git repository. So, I've actually already initialized this, so I'm literally just going to delete that Git folder. It's now no longer a Git repository. So generally don't do that, but just for the purpose of illustration, I'll show you. And I'll leave that link open, because then when I run a certain command in the terminal, a certain Git command in the terminal, then we will see what it creates, yeah, by running that command. So I've identified this folder on my computer. I'm going to zoom in slightly, but essentially you don't need to know exactly what it is, but I've just copied a path on my computer, yeah, so like home grey, so home your user, and then wherever I've stored this folder. Now if I come over to a terminal, this could be just a terminal that you've got on your computer like that, or I know a lot of us use the integrated terminal inside of Visual Code Studio. So I'll go with that for today, because that's what we're most familiar with. So we can see that currently, just because I've got some folders open, I'm sitting here in Kadiri Bootcamp resource links. Now, I'm not exactly sure that was the one that I wanted to be in, so I'm just going to copy that path with the command cd in front of it, which means change directory. So that's going to put me in the correct folder or the correct directory. Those words are interchangeable, folder and directory. So now I'm in the correct folder. So if you've got a folder on your computer that you want to turn into a Git repository now, it can be anything, then you can follow along these steps. If not, obviously you can watch the video later to repeat these steps and just listen for now. So I'm now in the folder that I want. I can do ls just to have a look what's in that. So this is just a backup of the resource links that I've begun to create and that we'll share with everyone. So at the moment we can see that there's one folder in it with some links, and there's a HTML file and a CSS. So this is just the basic bare bones vanilla HTML CSS version of it. If we wanted to look inside the resource links, we could of course do that again with cd, and I think these are just text files for now. Oh no, so I've actually initialized this one as a create React app. Okay, no worries. So if I wanted to turn the whole thing then into a, what do I want to commit? Do I want to commit the whole thing? Let's say we actually do want to just turn the resource links into a Git repository. So ignoring the vanilla CSS and HTML. Yeah, let's do that. Oops, excuse me. So, how do I tell my computer that I want to create a Git repository? Does anyone know the command? Git init. Yep. initialized empty Git repository in blah, 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 yeah, in the folder that I'm currently in. We can now see, if I navigate to that folder, that I've got a hidden .git folder in there. If we open that up, we can see that Git has created all this stuff that it needs to track our files and their version history and our project's version history, yeah? So version control is what Git is, yeah? It's a method for version control. So that's the first step. Then I actually want to create a remote version of this repository as well. I want to store it somewhere else other than my local computer. I want to create a backup, essentially, in the cloud, yeah? And I want to be able to sync those backups as well at some point. Because if, heaven forbid, I lose my laptop or something happens, you know, files get corrupted, then I want to have a store in the cloud that I can just pull from at some point in the future, and my whole project is back, yeah? So we need to actually go to GitHub to do this. So I've just created an empty profile here, so no repositories in it at the moment, yeah? So we could click on repositories and create a new one. And let's just call it something like backup links, yeah, something like that. All the other things we're going to leave blank for now, because when we leave these things blank and we don't add any other files, it gives us some helpful instructions. So we'll create that now. And it gives us all of these instructions. Quick setup, blah, 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 yeah? So if you haven't set up an SSH key on your computer, then you can connect via this link. And if you have, then you get a slightly different link. So we've all currently set up an SSH key. So that's just a way of stopping us. It's like a handshake between our laptop and GitHub. So it means that our GitHub account recognizes where any requests are coming from, and it has authorized our laptop to be able to make changes to this repository. If we just connected via HTTPS, so the secure version of HTTP, then we would have to enter our username and password all the time. So SSH stops us doing that, sets up this handshake, and allows us to push automatically. So we're going to use that option because a lot of you have set that up already, and it's the favorite option unless you love typing in your username and password millions of times. So we've already done the git init. We're not going to add a readme at this stage, though it is good practice to make sure you do add readmes to your project, yeah, so people know what it is. I'm probably going to skip straight to that, and we'll do the commit and the push together because those are things that we repeat time and time again. The remote, we should, I know a few of you have had some other issues, but we should only have to set that up once, and then it's just done, yeah, and then we should just push to that or whatever time and time again. So, okay, so we've created a repository on GitHub. We've got somewhere to push these files to create that backup. But at the moment, we've just got, we've just got these local files here, and because I deleted my Git repository and then I recreate it again, there's lots and lots of changes in here that we need to make, yeah? So you would have certainly quite a lot of changes listed if you simply run git init on existing projects, yeah, because there's lots of stuff that we need to back up. So yeah, I'm going to set up my remote first. So what did it tell us to do? It said run this command. So a remote just means somewhere to store the backup. We have to tell Git where that remote is, and we know that based on the link that has been provided for us. So yours will obviously be slightly different, but it's just your user account and the name of the repository.git, yeah? That's the general format for it. So if we go back over, we can run the command git remote add. Yes, that's saying git to add a remote. add somewhere for us to back up our files. Then we give it a name. Now, the common convention is to call it origin. It doesn't have to be called origin. Sometimes I actually name it GitHub, so I know that I'm pushing to GitHub, because you might use Bitbucket or one of these other version control clouds, so you might want to use a different naming convention. Yeah, totally up to you. But for now, I'm just going to stay with the standard. And I'm just going to paste in that link because I can't remember it off the top of my head. So git remote, add our origin, and then we're just assigning. So origin is, if you like, the alias for this location. So we've now added a remote. Did it work? Well, let's just double check whether it worked. So I don't want to kill the terminal. I'm just going to clear my screen so it's a bit more readable. So that's another command. If you don't know it, you can just type clear and that will clear your terminal. I'm just going to push that in for now so we've got a bit more room. So you can actually type git remote and that will list the names of any remotes. So we can see we've got an origin remote set up. I probably should have done that before, just to show you that that list is definitely blank when you first initialize it. Yeah, there would not be any remotes listed. If you want to check the location of those remotes, you can use a -v, which is the same as writing -- verbose. I think it will work like that. Yep. So verbose just means give me a bit more information. Give me the verbose version of whatever you've asked for. Yeah, give me the long version. So now we can see that it's set up the same link for fetching and pushing. Now we could have these to be different things. It doesn't have to be the same thing. But for now, we want to fetch from one repository and push to that same repository. How would you do it if you wanted a different one? Well, you could do something like --push. Sorry, we'd add still. So we still add our remote and add the push version of our remote and then give that, you know, whatever address we wanted to give it. If we had a different repo that we wanted to push to versus a different one that we wanted to fetch from. Yeah, of course --fetch also works. Yeah, and then put in here your location of remote. Yeah, which again you can get from, you know, something like that. Yeah, you'd have that sort of link for your remote. So just replace that with the stuff in your command line. Okay, any questions on remotes before I move on? I think you had one, Nico, maybe with changing the actual name of the remote. So let's say if you had typed this bit in wrong, so your origin was actually incorrect.
I renamed the folder on GitHub manually by the web interface.
Right. So what Nico did, he's saying, is in your actual repository, you didn't like the name of that. Yeah. So is that under settings? Is it?
Yeah.
So you changed this, yeah, to be, I don't know, backup links. Let's just say it doesn't matter for now, right?
Yeah.
And then we rename it.
And then you need to tell the local computer that is changed.
Yeah. So then what will happen, if we tried to push to this remote, back up to this remote, it won't be able to find it because that link no longer exists. Yeah, so we're going to have to change it in some way, which is going to be git remote is it -set URL? Like,
-URL.
yeah. And then you would actually have to put in the correct URL, which of course what we did was just delete the S. Nope, so the command's not quite right.
Set without the dash before.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you do put in an incorrect command, then you're going to get something like this, yeah? Unknown switch. So it thinks that my -s is some sort of option, is a switch there, yeah? So then it gives you a list of things that you can actually do, and we can see down here the correct one. Did you mean this? Set URL? Yeah, we did. And I think we also need the dash dash add, don't we, to actually add a new one, or? Yeah, let's have a look. So let's get rid of that. I think we need dash dash add as well, by the looks of it. Git remote set URL.
You need to name origin as well, I think.
Origin, yes.
Of course I do, yep. Yeah, need the actual name. Yeah, what are we setting? So we don't need the add?
No.
Because we've got the existing one.
And after add, you need origin.
They
That's
work
how I understand
without
it.
add as well.
Okay, so that's accepted something, so let's just double check that has worked, yeah? How would we check? How would we check our remotes now?
Git remote dash dash.
Git remote
Dash V.
-v. It's the shorthand, yeah, for verbose. And there they are, and it's got no S in there. So they now match. Good, so just a little warning there. If you do rename your repos, make sure that you sync them so they've definitely got the same name, otherwise your push will fail. Cool. I've mentioned that word push a lot. Shall we actually try pushing now? So, within Visual Code Studio, it monitors the changes for us. So we can see we've had 58 changes, yeah? So 58 things we need to commit. So what I'm going to do now is tidy this up a bit. Actually, let's leave that open because we need to see what happens. Let's clear our terminal again. And how do we stage? Well, they're already staged. That's annoying, isn't it? Some are staged. So can you see the differences here? We've got stage changes and 36 that have not been staged.
What's the difference?
So if we committed now, it would only commit the staged changes. Yeah, so if you want to commit everything, then we need to use git add to add them to the staged. So if you want to check what's staged and what's not staged, then you can use git status. So no commits yet, of course. Yeah, and we've got some untracked files, and it's telling us to use git add to track those files. Okay, so let's do what it suggests after I've cleared it off. Oh, yeah, so we need to actually specify what we want to add, yeah? So to add everything, we can use a dot. If we want to add a specific file, so I can see now we've got a text file called books.txt. I think that's in the unstaged, yeah. So if I just add an individual file to stage by typing its path and file name, books.txt did not match any files, probably because it's within a separate folder.
I think the ones on top are staged, those are not staged, those are changed, so it's just to scroll up. That's what will happen.
Yeah, okay, let's just add them all. I'm going to get confused with my file structure, so let's add them all and see what changes. Interesting, nothing. Yeah, sometimes this does do it for me actually. It does not display correctly. Let's actually try. So let's check via the command line what's happened. So yeah, we've successfully managed to stage all those changes, but for some reason my graphical user interface is not updating, which is annoying for the demo. So I guess that's a little bug for my version of Visual Code.
There's an update.
There is an update, I know. I'm not sure if they fixed that bug in the update, because that bug's been there for at least the last 5 versions for me, but it's worth a try. Thanks, Davide. I'll try later. Cool. So anyway, we've now added these files. So they should be in the staged area, which means when we commit them, they're actually going to disappear from our list of changes and get written to this .git folder. Yeah, the changes are going to be incorporated into that .git folder. I like to think of the .git folder as very similar to a database that keeps track of the changes. So we're actually changing the database, the state of the database. Yeah. If that analogy doesn't work for you, then think of something else. Cool. So we can do a commit from the command line by typing git commit with a -m to add a message. So it's very good practice to add a message. The best practice as well is to add your message in the present tense. So in other words, write, update, or create new project. So you'd write create new project. You would not write created a new project that I did last week or something like that. Yeah? Write it in the present tense. Yeah? For the actual change. So, yeah, I'll just say create test repo for Kadiri practice or something like that. Yeah? So that's how they're written. Don't ask me why. There's probably a good reason, but that's the way they tend to get written. Okay, so that should now commit all these changes, and they probably won't disappear, right, from my GUI. No, they haven't. So I think I'm going to refresh this and open it again so that we can see what's happened visually as well. So how many changes do we expect now? I think we had something like 56 or 58 before. We should have less, right? Hopefully we're going to have none. Kadiri Bootcamp. We were in the backup one. And we were in there. Yeah? Okay. It flickered briefly then, didn't it? And now we see there's actually no changes. Quick question. Have these changes gone to GitHub yet? No. So we've updated our local Git folder. So if we wanted to restore our project to this state or copy it to another folder, then we could do that with all the changes committed. But we haven't pushed it to the remote. So if I went to GitHub and we go to backup links, we're on backup links. So yeah, there's no commits there at all. Yeah. We go to the repositories, there's no commits. Okay, it's still got this welcome screen. So we actually need to commit it. Sorry, not commit it, sorry, push it to GitHub. And how do we do that? Git push. Just git push on its own. Yeah, I mean, git push on its own will give us a warning if we try it. So well, it should give us a warning if we try it. There we go. The current branch has no upstream march. Yeah, exactly. So we haven't set anywhere for it to go to yet. So we haven't set a default for it to push to. So usually the first time you push it creates this for you automatically, but we haven't done a successful push yet, so we have to specify where we push it to. And we're pushing it to one of our remotes, yeah? So we can check the name of that. Well, we've called it origin. So in other words, we're going to do push origin, and then we're pushing to the master branch of our origin. That's interesting. I'll tell you why, because it's a new repository, right? And I haven't set up the SSH key. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm quickly just going to use the HTTP link instead, because that's going to be the quickest version to do it. Of course, you've all set up your keys already. How did I change the remote, guys? How did I change the name of the remote? Because I need now to change it to the HTTP version. Can we remember? Git remote set URL. That one, yeah?
Origin set URL.
Exactly. So this one here. So I'm going to set my version to the HTTP version now and try pushing again. So it asked me for the username. What did I call it? That, I guess, yes, I've actually still used my name. And password, I can remember that, which is fortunate. Okay, good. So that looks like it was successful. So now if we check GitHub, refresh it, we should see that we've successfully pushed to that repository. Let's briefly cover branches. So this goes for any repository. I know some of you are starting to do things like that as well. How do we create a new branch? And switch to it at the same time is usually the best way to do it.
Git branch.
So it's either git branch or git checkout, right? If I type git branch now just on its own, we just get a list of our current branches. If we want to create a new branch and move to it, so git checkout essentially moves to a different branch, and then we type our option or our flag of -b for the branch. So just think of that as new branch or branch. Branch, yeah. And then the name that we want to call it. So let's call it new feature, because in practice you would often want to test a new feature before merging it into your main project file, right? You want to be safe. Let's just test it on a different branch, and then if it doesn't work, we might just abandon that branch completely and delete it. Or if the company is not interested in that new feature, then you can just delete it and you haven't messed at all with your master branch. So it's a good way to test new features. So let's do that. We can see we've got a message, switch to a new branch called new feature, and we're already on it. How would we get back to the master branch if we wanted to?
Git checkout master.
Git checkout master, exactly, without the B. Yeah. Okay, and if we ever want to check what branch we're on, whoops, we just type git branch on its own. And we can see the one that's highlighted and starred is the one that we're currently on. Yeah. So if I wanted to make a small change and commit that change to the new feature, how would I do it?
You should be on the new feature branch.
I should definitely be on the new feature branch, thank you. Okay, and then we need to make a change, right? So let's come down to our, let's just do app.js, right? Oops. Try and make a small change without breaking anything. So we're probably going to just change the text, I think will be easiest to do. So let's just say order of operators rather than operator precedence. So we can change that back if we need to. And we can see over here that our Visual Code Studio has detected that we've changed one file, app.js, yeah? How did we stage that change, ready for a commit? Yep, so the three commands now that we're going to need to do time and time again. The first one is going to be git, oops, make sure you're in your terminal, is git add. Let's just add everything. I know we've only got one thing, but you know, often we want to add everything. If we didn't, then if we made a separate change to, let's, I don't know, make our images, oh no, not that big, a bit smaller. Now we've got two changes here. So we can either add the files separately, or we can click on the little plus and minus here. So this will actually add the files, hence the add symbol, and the minus will unstage the changes for us. Yeah. So if you just want to commit the changes from the main app without changing the CSS yet, we could do it like that. Yeah, just stage app.js and leave index.css for another time. We'll deal with that later. We haven't finished with that We don't want to stage those changes yet. So, I've added now already directly by up here, so I don't need to run the add command from the terminal, but you could have done it from the terminal as well, right? Just by running git add app.js. So just to check what you've added, again, you can always run git status if you're unsure. So changes to be committed, it's going to be really clear for you here. Commit those. Ones that aren't staged, index.css. So if you wanted to, make sure you add them. In this case, we don't. We'll leave that for another time. Okay, so git add was the first command we needed to run. The second command that we need to repeat time and time again is git commit. Yeah, with a message. Yeah, please always include the message. And then update name of I don't know, one section or something like that, one topic, was it? Yeah, so weird present tense thing again. And hit enter. It's disappeared from our changes, our monitored changes. So has it gone to GitHub again yet? No. Nope, but it's changed on our local computer. So now we can mirror the changes from our local computer up to our remote, up to our backup in the cloud, yeah? So that's the third step to run, and how do we do it? Git push. Now on its own, will it work this time? I'm not sure. I think it will. No, it still won't. So I actually need to set that upstream. So what you can do is git push origin. You can obviously type what they say, or you could do git push origin master. I think you added the U flag there for upstream to set the upstream. I've got to do this again, haven't I? So obviously you won't have to do this because of your SSH key.
Great, did you want to push this to master or new feature?
Oh, good point. Good point. Very good point. Yes. So let's have a look what I've done. So I've definitely pushed, but where have I pushed to?
Origin.
Origin.
Oh, sorry, master.
Nowhere yet. Let's have a look. Branch master setups. Branch master setup to track remote from origin.
But up there it said fatal, the current branch new feature.
Yeah, okay, so up where, sorry?
No upstream branch. Right there.
Yeah, we fixed that though, so then when we did git push,
Maybe you have
Yeah?
not pushed it yet.
so I was on this branch, right? Oh, got branch. We haven't got branch yet. Let's get the branch first. Okay, so instead, if we do git push origin new feature, which is where we want it to push to, right?
And now you.
Now it should work. Thank you for that, picking me up on that. Cool. That looks a lot better. New feature, there it is. Less than a minute ago. And we now see that we have 2 branches. And that new feature is only, that change is only going to be on the new feature branch. If we check the code for master, we can see if we went into app.js and previewed that we've still got operator precedence written there. Whereas if we went on to our new feature branch, then we can see that app.js has instead order of operators. Yeah? So essentially you've created 2 complete copies of your project now that are running almost in parallel, but they're running separately. Yeah, changes you make to one will not affect the other unless you push to both branches, right? Any questions on that bit before we move on?
Can you push it to the branches at the same time?
Can you push the 2 branches at the same time? Why would you want to do that? Because instead what you'd usually do, I think that's a bit dangerous personally. What you'd usually do is you'd merge it, yeah? So we might look at that when we look at pull requests and forks instead, but where am I? So let's just go to our actual branch. And you see we've got this option compare and pull request, yeah? So you'll be using this feature a lot in your team apps. So we'll very briefly mention it now, and then we'll actually run through it on a shared repo. So essentially, hopefully you're going to get that message, able to merge. If not, we need to obviously dive a bit deeper. And it gives you the option to review exactly what has changed in your files. Yeah. So one of you in your team, it could be anyone, but one person will be, like assigned to review it. And I suggest you rotate it round so everyone gets practice at reviewing the code and accepting the pull requests and stuff like that. One of you will have a look at this, and you can see that with the minus, we've taken out operator precedence, and with the plus in green, we've added in order of operators. So it's very, very clear what the change is. There might, of course, be multiple files. It might say showing, 500 changes with 2 additions and 7 deletions or something like that. Yeah, those numbers don't make sense, but you get the idea. And try and keep your commits fairly small so that you haven't got to review a lot of changes at once. So make many commits and small commits rather than one massive commit. And then you can just describe it and then create the pull request. So first you create the pull request, and you can see that it has no conflicts, which is fantastic. So in other words, people haven't worked on the same lines of code and done different things because it's only me that's made the changes. So when you're working on your team apps, you're probably going to work on separate components and things to avoid too many conflicts. If there are conflicts, of course, we can resolve them. And GitHub and the command line interface of Git do have methods to do that. But we will deal with those next week when we come to them, definitely. This is just the overview to begin with. So, if there's no conflicts, then you can just merge it. You should, of course, describe what's happening and all stuff like that. But I'm just going to confirm it for now, just to speed it up. And now, if we go back to firstly, notice that we've actually got a separate commit for the merge pull request. And if we go to our master branch now and have a look at the code, we can see that 7 minutes ago we updated the name, which is the same commit, as we did to the master branch. So it hasn't said 1 minute ago or 30 seconds ago. It's taken the commit from whenever the original person made that change on the test branch and incorporated that into the project on the master branch.
Would you delete the branch at this point?
And if you're no longer working on that feature, we still had that CSS there change, but if you're no longer working on that feature, then yes, it is safe to delete that branch, absolutely. Cool. Any questions on that scenario, which is your own, creating your own backup of files on your computer, so not necessarily sharing with anyone else at this stage? Or anything anyone would like to add? Any other useful commands that they've come across? It says Davide.
There was some maybe Ricardo on some video, big commit, and there was another letter. I don't remember.
I think to add them at the same time. Yeah. So again, that's an even more shortcut way of adding everything and committing it at one time. But I prefer, I think, just to keep them two separately, personally.
So you
Um,
don't need to do git add?
No, you wouldn't
commit
need to do
and-
git add.
and-
Yeah.
I've been using the shortcut on VS Code.
What's the shortcut you mean?
That
Oh,
box.
up here? Yep,
Yeah.
sure.
And when I use that, I don't need to add them. I think it first stages them and then commits them.
Well, it will tell you whether it's staged or not, right? So always be careful and just read the header title. So at the moment, I've made some changes, but they're not staged. So I can write whatever I want in here and commit it. Ooh, that was interesting. That didn't say staged, right?
Yeah, exactly. It stages and then commits.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's,
I think it
is that only because it's one change? Because if you had multiple changes, it should only stage the ones
No,
that
it's
were.
still.
I think it depends because I remember when I first did it, it asked me whether I wanted to stage all changes automatically.
Mm.
Like there was a box and it's ticked no. So whenever I clicked it, I get a message box asking me if I want to stage.
Okay, so I guess by default, then that Visual Code Studio runs that command, commit all. Whereas to me, that can be a bit dangerous if if you don't want to commit everything at once, you haven't finished working on some things. So I guess my default I prefer would be commit staged. Yeah. And obviously if you do it by the command line, you know what you're staging, right? If you do git add with the dot, you know you're staging everything. If you list the individual file names, then you know that you've only staged those things. So I guess you have a bit more control and feedback from the command line as opposed to the GUI up here. But yes, of course, you can do all these options from here as well. You can push, pull, commit. Well, not all the options, but you can do common options. Yeah. Yep.
Let's say you're working on about 6 different files. You've done different things to these 6 different files.
Yep.
Can you give them can you put different messages on each
Yeah,
file?
exactly. So that's what I was saying there. I don't know if I've got 6 different files I can change, but if we change, I'm going to delete this anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we change. If we change these files, it's not. Well, that doesn't really matter, I suppose, does it? If we change that one as well. So now we've got 3 changes made. The ones that I want to commit this time around, I'm going to stage. So I only want to write a commit message for app.js now. So I'm going to say update app.js. Okay? And then what I didn't know is when you use the GUI, that you're right? Yeah. That you commit all of them by default. So instead, let's come to the triple dots and just only commit staged. Yeah. Which is the same as in the command line, which I think is more transparent, doing git add app.js and then following that up with git commit. Yeah, and that will only commit that change, but doing it via the GUI, you're going to have to then make sure you commit staged. And you see those 2 changes are there. So if we go to our GitHub and we check our code and we refresh then, by the way. Okay, that's because I'm on the branch again, isn't it? Oh, I haven't pushed, have I? Sorry. So we've committed to git push.
Are you still on new feature?
I'm on the
No, we've merged it.
I'm on the branch. I think I'm probably still on the new feature branch, right? How would I check? Git branch. Yeah, but I can still push to origin new feature, right? And then if I go to the new feature branch, no description.
Did you write git push?
No, I haven't, have I? Try and do things quickly. Oh yeah, I did do the git push, didn't I? No, I didn't. Okay. Username. Great. Awesome. So now you can see that we've got the commit for update.js. If we run through all of those three processes again, yeah, which are, I'll do it from the command line, yeah, git add. Let's add index.css this time. Index.css does not match any files. So again, that's because of my path, right? Okay, I'll do it up here. So we've staged that one, we've added that one. Let's commit. Yeah, let's do it here so you can see. Okay, commit -m index, yeah. Don't write a message like that, please. And then again we can run our push. So add commit push. See why we do it SSH? Already I'm getting tired of it, right? Awesome. 4 commits now. 5 commits even. And we can see that that one is a separate commit. Yeah, Vivian? Just with the changes for that file. So that's how we'd separate them. Yeah, by making sure we only stage the ones we want to actually commit. And you can do that with your pluses and your minuses. And then via the GUI, make sure you just commit the stage rather than commit all. Or do it via the command line. Yeah. Cool. Shall we have a quick look at forking an existing repo? Yeah. Git what? Git log? When would you use that?
Just to see what commits have.
Yeah. Just, yeah.
I mean, that's the equivalent of status, but status is a brief.
Status is more saying what's changed,
Yeah,
and commit is giving you, oh sorry, and what do we just run? Log is giving you the history of your commits. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Git log's possibly a useful one. If you've written good messages, you'll be able to see exactly what has happened at those points. And it is possible to roll back to one of these commits if you did break your project entirely. I'm not going to teach you that in case you start experimenting with that and we've suddenly gone back to task 1. Where's my project gone? And all that sort of stuff, yeah? So that's a emergency use only sort of thing. But it's built into the version control in case that you need to do something like that, which could happen. It can definitely happen. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, git log, another useful one. Anyone else?
Can you create a repo from your role?
I don't know the shortcut to get out of it now. What's the shortcut to W? Q? WQ. Oh, just W. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Say again, Vivian?
Can you create a repo on your machine other than going on to GitHub? Can you create it here and it automatically appear on your GitHub account? Is that possible? Remotely creating a repo on your machine?
No. No. I don't think so. Not I'm aware, because you need, well, I think there's a command line thing called hub. So it'd be another command line interface, not built into Git, but built into Hub, which is GitHub's command line interface, and that would enable you to create repos from the command line, just from your machine, without having to visit the web. Yeah. It's called Hub on Linux. I don't know if it's called Hub on Windows, to be honest, but there are command line interfaces to do what you've just asked. Yeah, create repos just from your machine. But yeah, for now, just stick to switching over to GitHub, yeah. And if you want to increase your productivity in the future, sure, look into little extra features like that. The same way with the snippets and stuff, yeah. Cool. Okay. So ideally, what I want you to do is to have a practice with. Is it that one? Have a practice with. No. So if we go to. My verbose name. Kadiri. Okay. So yeah, this is the repo that you can all practice on, and you can practice adding links and creating pull requests and all stuff like that in practice for your team apps. Yeah. So at the moment it's rather dull and boring. You know, it's just a little sort of accordion menu type thing. We can drop it down and get different topics and drop that down, and there's a link to javascript.info, so we could open that and browse that. Yeah, so that's the general idea of the resource links thing. Of course, I want you to contribute, add lots of links, style it if you want. You know, someone can come up with a nice design for it, but I've at least done just a basic drop-down functionality, so that works, I think, for now. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to fork it, yeah? So if you want to actually contribute to a project, you end up forking it. If you just want your own copy of it, you tend to clone it, yeah? At the end, you can set them up to do the same things, but there is no, just note, there is no command in the CLI in here. You cannot do git, definitely can't do git frog or anything like that, but you can't do git fork either, yeah? Because it's not a git command, that's part of GitHub. GitHub you fork things, yeah? You don't fork things from Git. Doesn't make sense. So you can clone things, you can clone your repositories, yeah? Git clone, that's a valid command. We need more options, but that's a valid command, but you cannot git fork from the command line, yeah? So you will need to do that again via GitHub. Okay, so let's look at that process now. So go on, yeah?
When would you clone, when would you fork?
So when you want to contribute to a project, fork it, then you create a pull request back to whoever's repository that is. They can review your code and include it in the code if they want to include it, yeah? If they agree with your contribution to the project. Which is essentially what I've asked you to do for this, which is why we're going to look at git forking. The process, we're going to actually use a git clone within the git fork, so the process is very similar, but you'd clone something just if you didn't want any link to the original repo. You just want to copy that code.
Oh.
Just copy that for me, please, and I'll work on it on my own and create it as my own project, yeah?
If you cloned it instead of forking it, can you still create a branch and send a pull request?
You should still be able to could you create a pull request for it? I think you could. You'd have to set it up a bit more manually and tell it where you're creating the pull request to, because it won't know. It won't have anything set up saying I originally got this work from over here and I want to create a pull request to that same repository. That wouldn't automatically be set up, but I think there's a way through GitHub again to do that, yeah? Because clone doesn't do that. It doesn't link with GitHub in that way because it's a Git command and not a GitHub
It's for a different
command.
purpose, to get a copy of it.
Yeah, if you think you want to work on it, just create a fork. That's the end of the short story, yeah? What am I looking for now, guys? I'm looking for, yeah, our repo, so github.com/ yeah, I think we've just got that address, right? I shared this with you the other day of our team's projects. Did anyone manage to have a look at some of them? I gave you those links. Yeah, a few nods. Give you any ideas, or at least saw the stuff that people were producing?
We had a look, yeah.
Yeah, looked all right. Think you can produce something similar or better?
We want better.
Better, definitely. Good, that's the attitude. So anyway, we will create a repository on here for you with whatever the name of the app you decide, and then you will essentially fork it. Yeah, you will fork your own copy of that. So I'm not going to do that with these guys, but that's going to be the process for the Kadiri team apps. Yeah. instead, for now, we're just going to fork this thing. Yeah, we're just going to fork this resource link, which is stored here. So again, we've got a fork button on the top right, so we can just click that. And I'm signed in, not in this account, I'm signed in the demo account, yeah? You can see up here. So technically these are different accounts, even though they've got very similar usernames, because it's still me. Yeah. Gray or Graham? Who am I? Yeah. Mystery man. I change into one at night, all right? Cool. So anyway, we can fork that. So let's look at the process, what happens when we fork a repo. Takes a little while. Right, it says only a few seconds. Let's see whether it's right. That's pretty good. And now you can see that this should look, oh no, that this one, which is currently stored on Gray, looks identical to the commit history. Oh, that's another thing, the clone doesn't copy over the full commit history, I think, or something like that. Yeah, so there are slight differences. Yes, so we've now created a copy of it, and that is now a new repository stored here, and it says that we've forked from blah 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 blah. Yeah. So we want to now get this on our machine. Yeah, we're almost going in the reverse. We've taken something from the cloud, we now want to put it on our machine rather than the other way around. Does anyone know how we would do that? Clone. Yep. Again, there's a useful button here on the right hand side to clone a repository. Do you want to clone it with HTTPS or do you want to use SSH? Please, for your projects, use SSH. You've set an SSH key up. That works for any project you have. That is linked to your user account and your device. So it's not a project specific key, it's a device specific key. So any project you create on GitHub, that key will work as long as you've got the same user account, right? So which is the issue that I had. That was a separate user account I created for this demo. So I'm going to have to use HTTPS, but please use SSH. You've already got it set up, it works, use it. Cool. So I've now got that link. So I can copy that link and literally run the command inside the folder where I want it to appear. So let's move up a couple of levels. You know how to move up a couple of levels? Just 2 dots. Yeah, the same as when you're doing your imports and export. You use a double dot to move up a folder directory. So CD double dot will then take me up into resource links backup. How do I check that? Present working directory. I'm there. Yeah. So I want to go up one more to go into my bootcamp folder. And now I'm in Kadiri bootcamp. Okay, so I want to create it in there. So let's do a git clone with the link that we just got off of GitHub. Cloning. It's going to keep the same repository name, I think, I hope. And then let's double check, see whether that's being created in there. Kadiri, oh hold on, I've got lots of resources. That probably wasn't the best place to put it, right? But yeah, that's the new one. So if we have a look in Kadiri resource links, and have a look at the files. Yeah, that's the one that I've deployed using now. Yeah, which is a serverless deployment method, which we hopefully will get a chance to talk at some point, because I think it's pretty good to talk about at some point. Cool. So now let's shut down Visual Code Studio and open it up in the correct folder, right? So you've now managed to clone that project onto your computer. Where did I store it? In Kadiri Bootcamp, Kadiri Resource Links, yeah? So that will create on your machine a folder called Kadiri Resource Links with a complete clone of this project, yeah? So you're welcome, obviously, to play around with that as much as you want. the main changes you'll probably make will be in app.js. It's not a nice way to add links at the moment, to be honest, but it's going to get you used to working with components a little bit. So if we wanted to add a new link to the React section, why not? That's blank at the moment. So what's a topic in React that you guys have to learn?
State.
Nice. I was expecting props or state, but in unison we had state. So very good, very good. So if we look at a similar topic, it's a sort of, it obviously is, isn't it? So let's get some resource links for state as soon as possible, so that we can bring the stress levels of Bouquet and Nico down a bit, I think. So if we look at another topic, indentation is horrible as well at the moment. Look, someone can do that as their change. So we've got a name. We've given it a name as a prop. Yeah. So within our topic, we've given a name prop, and that is going to be, what do we say? State. So I'm going to give it a capital. And what other props have I got in my topic? Well, at the moment, I've given it a parent ID. So in other words, what section does it belong to? So that could possibly be renamed to section ID, right, to make it clearer. But this is something I just threw together one evening, I think. So parent.id, so let's make sure it actually matches. Yeah, so make sure that and that matches. And also, yeah, a weird thing at the moment, I've got an index because I'm not mapping over everything. I haven't stored the links in an array or the topics in an array or anything. So I'm literally just giving them an index in the order that the topics appear. So that's 0, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And the reason I do that is so that I can find it correctly in the DOM and make the accordion menu work properly. But yeah, index equals 0. Make sure it's in quotes, right? And cool, so that's should have created a topic for us based on the topic component, which is just rendering some JSX, yeah, just rendering an unordered list and sticking that, creating that topic for us. And then we need the actual link itself, otherwise it's a bit useless for a resource links app or component, yeah. So within the topic, we want to stick a link. Which there's not many links in here at the moment, as you can clearly see, which follows this sort of format. Okay, so the link is literally the link itself, so I've called that a href because that's what anchor tags use. They have a href attribute, and give it some actual text that you want to display on the screen. So whatever you want to say, amazing guide to state in React or something like that, yeah. And then give it a link. We haven't got a link at the moment, but I'm sure you could Google very, very quickly and find that link, yeah. What was there was a Scrimba one that everyone liked. Does anyone know the Scrimba thing? So to give them a bit of publicity, why not? Scrimba, so it was like free React, what was it, Learn React for free or something like that? What was it called? Anyone know? Learn React for free, something like that? Yeah, that one? So a lot of people like this, if you haven't come across it yet. Yeah, so we can literally just copy that link, stick it in here, in our href section. Hopefully I've got the full URL. Yeah, save that. We see we've got some changes over here, right? So we can go through the usual steps, the same as if it was your individual project. So we can do a git add everything. We can do, let's check whether our remotes are set up, because we haven't done that yet, right? So let's check. So we've got an origin already set up. What is the origin? That's the question. How to do it, guys? Git remote verbose. So that is correct, right? That is where, or is it? Yeah, that's where I wanted it. Okay, so it's already set up the remote for you. through the process.
So great. Was this the Kudiri one, or is this the original one?
This is like your personal copy of it. This is the fork. This is the forked version. Yeah, yeah. And I know that because I'm not called that on GitHub. Yeah, that's the one I've just created. That's not my username on GitHub. So this would be your personal remote has already been set up for you through the clone process. Yeah. Excellent. So we should just be able to do the git add. Which did I actually run it? Yes, I have added it already. So next, what do? Git commit. Yeah. You will love these things by the end. I'm sure you can automate it in some way, but for learning, it's good, right? You're never going to forget. Git add, git commit, git push. Okay. So, let's say we added state, I think, right? Commit that, and I should just again be able to push to my origin. That's done. Oh Christ, yeah. Username. Which exactly? Yeah. The daytime one. The daytime one. Oh, I'll probably mix them up. Hold on. Sorry, I really should have set up SSH for this account before the demo. I'm very sorry. Okay, good. Right, so this has updated our fork now. So if we go and have a look at our forked project, which I believe is this one, added state link. Okay, but that change has not been reflected on...
No, this is the fork one.
Yeah, this is the fork one, but I'm just going to go to the other one to show that it's not reflected on that. So now I've got them both open so we can see the differences. Okay, so this is the original that you're going to fork and clone. And obviously there's no update gone there, right? Because that's someone else's repository. We don't want to sync that change and make any change to that. But we might want to suggest, hey, look, there's this really cool link. Can you please include it in your project? Which is exactly what we're going to do. So how do we do that? Well, see this little thing called pull requests at the top? We can click on that. We can ask to create a new pull request. And because we forked it, automatically it knows where we want to ask for the pull request to go to. So the base repository we can see is the original project. The head repository, your personal one, is the one that we've just done the commit to, that we've done the push to, excuse me. Okay, so that's it really. That says they're able to merge, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it would be that process that you'd repeat time and time again for your team apps. You'd work on your local copy of it, create a pull request. You can leave it as the same description, right? And then if you want to comment, please add this link to the main project or something like that. Yeah, very good. State, whatever. Then you create the pull request. Okay, that's the end of it for you, because you're not listed. Well, okay, it's not necessarily the end of it for you personally, but if this was a let's say an open source project that you wanted to contribute to, that would be the end of it for you. You wouldn't have really any say whether your change got accepted or not, right? That's down to the company, the NGO, whoever runs the open source sort of project that's going on. So therefore, they themselves, in the original project, would have to click on pull requests. And now, look, there's a pull request from you. Added state link. So you can review that, and again, you'll be doing both sides in your team app. You'll be creating the pull request, and then someone else will review it in your team. Will review it. Yeah. Technically, you'll be able to review it yourselves, but please don't do that. Please pass it around, Yeah. So that's my comment. Yeah, I've just added, so they can see my comment. They can see what happened. They can check that code by looking at the commit history. So this guy, what did they do? Okay, I can see they've added a new topic with a new resource link. That looks okay. Doesn't look like there's any errors in there. So if they approve it, then they can just essentially close it. They can. Sorry, there is. I'll tell you why. I'm not logged in, so that's why I haven't got that option, because I'm still in like your account, the local, the personal one. Let's say the Kadiri one. Yeah, I should have just named it Kadiri, right? So if I sign out, you will see the proper interface for it. I know this is a long workshop, but hopefully it's useful, right? Because these steps you're going to need to do next week. Nope, not that one. That one. It's a more secure password, obviously.
So it belongs to Graham, but Graham made a copy of it.
Yeah. Just to clarify that. Why did I name it like that? I'm so sorry. It's very confusing, right? I could have called it anything in the world, and I chose to use just my name again. Right. So now I'm on the original, and this matches up with this. Awesome. So if we now go on pull requests, we should see a slightly different interface. Looks like you got your first contribution. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you. That sounded very sarcastic. Yeah, okay, same sort of thing there. Down here, we've now got this merge pull request button, this merge pull request option. There's a couple of options in there. So the main things for simple pull requests, a merge should be sufficient. Should be sufficient enough. It should work and not have any issues. They might have actually done 20 different commits and then created a pull request for all 20 commits. Squash and merge will turn all of those 20 commits into one. It will squash them into just one commit on the master project. Master's the wrong word to use, right? On the main project, the original project. And yeah, so just think of a rebase maybe as doing some extra checks before merging. That's all I'm going to say for now. We can of course look at that later if you want, but yeah, it's often the safest way to perform a merge. Yep. So there's only one commit, so I'm just going to do a merge commit for now. And then I can leave a comment and say, thanks very much. Great link. And then close and comment. So I want to actually just close the pull request as well. Oh, I haven't merged it yet, have I? Okay, merge it first before closing it. Otherwise you would discard all their changes. And that's fine. I'm happy with that as my commit message. Okay, so that's approved their changes. That should have now added that link to the original project. Thanks very much, great link. So that would then send a message back to the contributor. Yep, so you can see there that 11 seconds ago I merged it in. Fantastic. So now the only thing obviously left to do, that would be down to you as your team, would be to deploy those changes, right? So I need to make sure I'm in the correct. Yeah, okay, so now we've got some changes. We want to update our local project, right, with those changes. So let's say Buket's made some changes. And who else is on your team, Buket?
Lauren, Viv, Dawa,
Yeah.
Observability.
So let's say all of those people now need to pull your changes into their own projects, which I am going to be able to show. If I can remember which one the original is. I think I'm going to use that one. So all right. What was the change we made, guys? Can you remember? It was adding a new link into app.js, and it was adding a new React link, right? There's going to be lots of React, right? So, of course, the Scrimba link is not there, yeah? So if we looked at our React section, topic, it's still empty, okay? So we expect when we pull our changes to see a new link magically appear in there, yeah? So this is the original project files, let's say. So let's check the remotes, see where they go to. So that's me, that looks like the original. They're the same. Yeah, they're the same. Okay, so I don't know why I've got two, but let's say I was setting up ready to have different links there. So if I now do a pull request rather than a push, there's a couple of ways you can do it, right? So you can fetch first, which won't change anything on your computer.
Does it write into the Git folder?
It stores the changes in a temporary folder and does not change your Git folder yet, I believe. Probably right somewhere in the Git folder, but it doesn't amend the commit history yet. It's stored in a temporary folder, any changes that have been found. So git fetch, and let's just use the origin because I believe they're the same. And we're pulling from the master, right? Or we're fetching from the master. Okay. Hopefully git status will show us some differences. I'm not sure whether it does. Ugh, I've still got all that. Okay, so another thing. You've been working on the project and you've made lots of changes. You don't want to overwrite any of those changes. So you can use git stash. Yeah, and see all of my tracked changes have now disappeared. If I did that and then git stash, I should be able to get rid of all of them. Cool. Yeah, so now all of that work that I've been working from has again been stashed somewhere else, so I don't overwrite it.
Where does it stash it?
Temporary folder. Yeah. You can undo it, don't worry, by git stash pop. We'll do that in a second, yeah?
Is it really pop?
Yeah, pop. Yeah, it pops your changes back up. Not the same as array.pop, which is gone. Yeah, pop is actually what you use to get them back in this case. So confusing. They obviously weren't JavaScript developers who developed stash, who developed git. Sorry. Right. So we have fetched. Now we want to. Yeah. Now. See, I usually just. Yeah. I probably shouldn't just pull, but I'm just going to pull. Git pull origin. Okay. So we can see that when we pull, one file has been changed. And if we go to our app.js, oh, in fact, it's just popped up there, right at the top of the screen. So we can now see that we've pulled in the changes that we made. we've got the new link.
What happened to the changes you stashed?
Okay, so the changes I stashed are still stashed because I haven't yet done git stash pop. And there they are, back. In fact, that's the first stash, and I stashed twice, so I'd have to run it twice. And there they are, all back, yeah. Not that I want them, but that at least shows you how you could get them back. Yeah. So, what steps would you run? Well, I think we have a useful article for that, and the recommended way that you're going to do it for your team projects is hold on, yeah, demos, this, cool. So I think we're going to get you to do that. So rather than running a git pull, run it as 2 steps. First, fetch them into a temporary file, then make sure you're on the branch that you want to incorporate the changes into, and then run a rebase. Yeah, so I remember I said that was a bit of a safer way to do it than a merge, and then you will get the option, if there are any conflicts, to sort out those conflicts, and it might just sort some out for you using a rebase. Yeah. I mean, it tells you exactly what it does there, but that might just be words at this stage. Yeah, so that's the sort of best practice that we're going to get you to follow, or the easiest way. Of course, I will share that link with you, and we will make sure that you have it ready for your team apps. I can either put it in the links project, or I can or I can just share it on Slack. For now, I'll do both. Okay. But yeah, if you've got any links as well, it'd be really cool to add them to this project. Once we're happy with all of our changes, I'm just gonna stash those again because I don't really know why they're there. Cool, they're all gone. So now I am going to just run now, and that should deploy it. So we've got a configuration file in here for our now server, or our now deployment, our now site. So similar to when you deploy to Heroku, right? You see it's going through the building phase now, creating all our source files, installing any dependencies that we need that are specified in package.json. So React, React DOM, React scripts. Then it will give us a link, and we should be able to see our new React link in there and click on it. Hopefully it will deploy before my computer decides to run out of battery. Questions while we're waiting? Any steps we need to revisit? I know it's been a long one, but... No? So now we've got a link. If we go to that, I can't for some reason either do the control click. That doesn't work on my computer, but I'll work out why at some stage. And under React, state, and the link.
So where is it hosted or deployed?
There. It's on now, so that again, it just gives you sort of a project name. So open source education links, then your username, .greyhewitt.now.sh. So it's hosted on Now's.
Could we host the conflicts there as well? Or?
Yeah, I haven't tested it with CodeFlix yet. I want to do that just to check whether it's simple enough to host there, because obviously you're running multiple servers technically on CodeFlix, right? So, yeah, we'd have to serve everything, I think, from one location. So I'd have to work out whether the proxies and stuff like that would cause it to fail or not, or whether we'd be okay. But technically, you can host simple sites on this, and it's
Simple apps.
yeah. Your portfolio apps will work fine on that. Obviously, this works fine on that.
So as an alternative to Helm.
Yeah, it's an alternative deployment method. I find it incredibly easy to use and incredibly easy to set up. So it's just got a command line interface, and if I just as we're here, why not? So now templates. So it has a set of built-in templates. Maybe not be specific. I forget the command, to be honest. Probably just do -- help, right? That might help me. So if I do now -- help. Okay, I might need list. Oh, does that? Okay, for the. I don't know the command. What I'm trying to show is you literally just type now set template, and then it will have a list of templates for just deploying a Create React app, for deploying like a Gatsby app, for deploying lots of different types, a Next app, Vue, yeah. All those sorts of things that are built in for it, which is how I got this now.json. I didn't write that. That's just a result of me saying I'm using a Create React app here. Please set up the deployment so that it works. So yeah, you run one command and then you can literally just type now anytime that you want to redeploy it. So install the command line, set the template, type now, and so far it's always just worked for me. I've never had to do anything else. So I need to try it with a more complex project and see whether it can handle that or what changes I need to do really. But yeah, I can keep you posted on that, definitely.
You know your React app was a nano one. What's the difference between
Nano?
the one and the normal?
Yeah, so you might have noticed that. Oh, did it say that it was a nano one? Yeah, so I ran the command npx. Ooh, what is it? Might have even just been nano react app, right? And then give it a name. Yeah, okay, so that's it. So the differences are, if you look in package.json, I think this is a Create React app, but this is a Create React app one, but
You had one on there before.
maybe one I've definitely used a Nano React app, and the differences are less things are bundled with it, so you're not going to have as many node modules installed. It's going to have no testing built in to the Nano React app. It's just a more lightweight version, a nano version of Create React app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for very, very simple projects, it's all you need. If you want to obviously include testing, which you should in a proper production project, then Create React app's probably the way to go. Yeah. I know it's been a really long one, but any more sort of Git questions that we have? No? Get lost? Get lost, okay.
So it's a really random question. But I was just thinking in the future, let's say, like, how would we move the conflicts kind of forward? Because eventually, at some point, we'll have like hundreds of these project names. I was thinking at some point I want to create just like a GitHub folder and put everything GitHub into that related folder. So right now there's only users and then conflicts, and then I feel like at some point it will just be all over the place. So if you just, I don't know how long that will take. I don't know. It takes. It's really complicated. Never mind.
Sorry, I don't fully understand the question.
Okay.
So for example, I've just got a projects folder, and then within that, once I get past all my hidden folders.
So currently, I think we all installed our conflicts in under users. Then there's a folder that just goes straight to conflicts.
Yeah.
But at some point, I was wondering if we could move that folder into like a GitHub kind of, not a GitHub kind of folder, but like we create a folder like here.
Yeah. Why not?
Like GitHub, and then move it over. Would it affect everything?
No, because
that'd be fine.
everything's within the folder. You can just move it around as you would a normal folder.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just I thought it was something like.
Because the .git file tells it what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. So the .git file is in every single repository that you've initialized. Yeah. So that is unique to that project. Yeah. So that's the Spotify project, and then within that you've got a Git folder within that project. If I go to something else, I don't know if I've done no, I haven't initialized that as anything by the looks of it, but so probably here is so exactly the seasonal cuisine app that other team did. I've done a fork of that or a clone of that, and I've initialized that as a Git repository, so that's got its own Git folder. So I could move that anywhere I wanted on my computer. Just cut it. Well, let's stick it on the desktop, right?
Okay.
It's still going to work. I can then open that in Visual Code, still work on it. Yeah, make changes, push as usual. No difference, absolutely no difference. So you can organise your file structure however you want on your own computer.
Thanks. That was the only thing I was.
Yeah. Don't need to be wary. It should not break it. You still there, Luigi, or do we lose you about an hour ago? I think he's talking, but maybe I just can't hear him. Oh, that's why I'm muted. He's probably been talking all the time. Luigi?
Yeah?
Yeah, sorry. Have you had any questions? Have we gone long? Because I've just realised that I had to be on mute. I'm very sorry about that.
No worries. No, I mean, I guess for me it will require, a replay of the session.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot to take in, but hopefully it was organised in an okay way to run through it again.
If you want just to do a quick recap of the main point, I guess, I don't know if for the rest of the team it's useful, otherwise, it's fine. I will just rewatch everything, but I thought that,
Have you done your usual summary yourself? Have you extracted the key takeaways, or do you need me to do it?
No, I think I will need you to do it.
You need me to do it. Okay. I think probably it's actually better if I do them in some written commands and just write down the commands that you'll need to run perhaps once versus the commands that you'll need to run multiple times, like for every commit or for every pull request and stuff like that, really. I think it needs probably a written summary rather than just verbal again. I'll do that now, really. Yeah, I'll do that now and send it to the group. Yeah.
Thank you. Also, for the details to install that now from Zaid, would you be able to put it in the general chat?
How to install it? I mean, probably the best way is just to actually go to their website. I can definitely post the link. You've got to download now, right? And then you can do it either via the desktop or the CLI. So you've got pre-packaged binaries here, I think. Yeah, you got one for Windows. Even you got a pre-packaged one for Linux, I think. Oh no, you'd have to unzip it and stuff, but yeah. And then you can also install it as an npm module. So I think that's what I've done because that's the easiest way.
Oh, okay.
And so there you go. There's the command npm install. They've installed it globally. You don't have to, but you might as well if you're going to practice deploying with it. And that's it. npm install global now. And then the README is somewhere. And if you can find that, then it should tell you the common commands and stuff to use. But I don't know where I got. Maybe there's a README on GitHub. documentation. Okay, so there it is. So I can send both of those links as well.
Perfect.
And I'll send the link to the deployed version of all the resource links as well, and you can hopefully start adding to that and just getting some practice with pull requests and all stuff like that before you start. It looks like next Wednesday, doesn't it? You're starting your T-maps?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next Wednesday? Yeah. Okay. Doing a what, sorry? Repo. What about the repo? Retro. Is that now? It's now, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, we better do a quick retro, I guess. So I will end this massive broadcast.